What's going on, everybody? John Eryk Poli here with another MMA interview, and today we're also doing a bit of a college football preview as well. And if you haven't guessed by now who my guest is going to be today, maybe this red tie here for the Alabama Crimson Tide will help you figure it out. It is former Alabama linebacker and now UFC middleweight Eryk Anders. Eryk, how you doing, my man?
Man, I'm doing awesome. And yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for asking. I guess we'll dive right into the MMA stuff a little bit, and we'll start with you in your last fight you just fought in May. I know you're a guy that likes to stay active, so what have you been doing since your last fight, and what have you been doing in the gym since then?
I've been bitten by the injury bug a little bit. Man, just doing a little rest and recovering. Recently just got clear. Back in the gym, working, grinding, and waiting on that call.
Well, I'm glad that you are recovering there and that you've just been cleared because I know that you want to get yourself back inside of the octagon as soon as possible as a guy that's as active as you are there. But I wanted to just talk about that last fight for a little bit and ask you, what did you take away from it and how'd you kind of break it down? Because I believe I scored that fight for MyMMANews, and if I recall correctly, I scored it 2 rounds to one in favor of you. But that was it was an extremely close fight. What are your thoughts on that matchup that you just had in May?
Um, I really didn't fight the what I wanted to fight, and when a fight goes to a decision, it's close like that, then you really can't blame anybody but yourself.
Yeah, man. Like I said, a real close fight there. Unfortunately, didn't go your way. And I wanted to ask you one other thing about that fight card because you got to share the stage with your teammate Walt Harris. Of course, that was a huge fight because of the storyline of what he was going through, dealing with the tragic loss of his stepdaughter, who was tragically murdered. What was it like, for you as somebody that trained Walt every day in the lead up to the fight, and seeing what he had to go through just in order to make that walk to the octagon that day?
Man, to be honest, I think being in the gym was probably one of the best things for him. It was for those hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. He was just a regular guy, wasn't thinking about much other than fighting and training, and the camaraderie of the gym and the guys. And I just think it was really good for him to be in the gym, laughing, smiling. Um, I'm sure, especially then, probably. Probably not, at home, probably a little bit more sad and whatnot. But, he's able to get in there, laugh and joy and work out and stuff. Being in the gym was good for him.
Well, I give Walt all the credit in the world, and I can't wait to see him back inside of the octagon, and like I said before, you as well. And I want to go back to you for a second and talk about just that, you getting back inside of the octagon, because you're a guy that loves being inside there. When I was looking at your record, I didn't even realize you've had, let me see here, 18 pro fights in 5 years. And most of the time, you're fighting 4 times a year. That's obviously a lot of fights in a short period of time. What is your secret to staying ready and keeping your body in such great shape to be able to go out there and perform and to be able to perform in high level organizations because you fought in these last 5 years in LFA, Bellator, and the UFC?
Man, I just love what I do. It never seems like a chore or anything like that. It's easy to get out of bed in the morning, get in the gym and train. And, man, I'm not one of those guys who likes to train all the time. I like to train and put my skills to the test. I don't want to just like train for 6 months for no reason. I want to train, get ready for a fight, diet, cut weight, develop, grow, and see where I'm at.
And then, what was this whole entire, COVID-related stuff like for you? Because, as we said, you're a guy that likes to remain active, and COVID kind of had this whole world pretty much shut down. No fights were going on for the longest time. So, what was it like for you during that period when you wanted to be inside there fighting, and you're stuck kind of sidelined due to all the COVID restrictions?
Yeah, it really didn't affect my life too much. We stayed in the gym, stayed training because we were scheduled to fight in April. Then it got postponed, and everybody knows that Dana White was going to be the first person to get things rolling. So, just want to stay in shape, stay trained, stay sharp. And whenever they said that we were going to fight, we'd be ready to fight.
Yeah, and I want to get your thoughts on Dana White and the way how he handled all of this because he was really the first one to bring sport, or he was the first one to bring sports back, and he said he was going to do it. So, what was your take on how Dana White handled this whole entire process of getting fights put on during COVID?
I think he was ahead of the curve, especially now with all the stuff that's coming out. I think that everything's been open back up, and I'm not saying like it ran its course or whatever, but I think the thing is going down or whatever. So the number of cases are going down, and he did the safest way possible. Everybody knew what they were signing up for, so just glad that I'm with the company that kept things moving.
All right, now MMA stuff's done. It's time for some football here, so let's get into some of this college football preview stuff. But before we start previewing, Eryk, I wanted to ask you about what it was like playing for Nick Saban in Alabama and being a part of that first national championship team. I know that you've spoken about this in the past, but it's the first time we're speaking, so I just am curious as what it was like to be a part of that program and really start off the dynasty that it is now.
It was great because he really came in at a time when Alabama wasn't doing too hot. So he really turned the program around and did it within 3 years. He won his first championship within 3 years, and not a lot of people are doing that.
And Nick Saban too. He seems like he's a guy that's he's so into it all the time. And I remember after one of the national championships, there was a story that came out that Alabama had just won. Everyone celebrated in the locker room, and he came in and he was telling everybody what they did wrong. I'm like, come on, no, let us celebrate. So, well, when I hear that, I have to ask: was he a guy that was strictly business all the time?
No, not at all. But whenever it's time to work, it's time to work. And before and after, he's just like one of the guys. He's making jokes. People are making jokes on him. So he's he's a leader when it's time to lead, and when he's really laid back when it's not time to work.
And Eryk, one more thing too with your playing career there. I know you tried to make the NFL, you didn't make it, and if you just touch a little bit, just how cutthroat everything is. I mean, it's so hard just for a good player to even make it Division One, and you got to obviously accomplish that. But then going to the NFL is a whole nother level. Obviously, can you just touch on just how cutthroat it is to make an NFL roster?
Oh, it's super cutthroat, but at the same time, if you're not, up to snuff or whatever, they don't feel like you're a good fit, and they keep you around, and the team isn't very good, then the coach's job is on the line. So, it is what it is, and everybody knows what it is. Fighting isn't any different. It's probably even worse, I would say. But it is what it is.
Now let's get into some current stuff and the current college football season. So, Eryk, you were a guy that obviously fighting in the UFC got to experience what it was like to start training and going through an event while all this COVID-19 and coronavirus stuff is going on. Now you're seeing in college football where some programs are canceling their season. There's conferences that are holding back, saying that they're not going to send their kids out there. I know the Big Ten's kind of going through something now. They're supposed to make a decision, I think, at some point this week, if I recall off the top of my head. But anyway, when you see all this going on, I mean, what's kind of your take on all of this? Do you think, as somebody who's trained and had an event during COVID, that you could see college football going on and that it's safe for these kids to compete in a football season with everything going on?
I mean, there's like a less than 1% chance of of somebody their age and their athleticism and being in shape as they are for it being fatal. So I think if I was 19, 20 years old and I was in their position, I would want to play.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 110%. That's pretty much what my message has been to people during all of this that have been, especially at the high school level. I see most people complaining, saying, oh, I don't think we should be having events or anything like that. But if it's up to the kids and the kids want to play, and if their parents are okay with them going out there and playing, I don't understand why they can't go out there and keep pursuing their athletic careers.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see guys that are starting to opt out, and they can make their own decisions.
Yeah, like I said, I'm on board with exactly what you're saying. I agree with you 100%. So now let's get into the whole college football season coming up. Obviously, I know your Alabama Crimson Tide are going to be right up there towards the top, making a run towards another national championship. Just what are your thoughts on the season, and who you think are going to be some of the top tier teams this season?
Man, of course, Alabama stands above all. Clemson's a good squad, but I want to see who's finally going to play, and then we'll see how it's going to shape up.
Like we were saying, Clemson, Alabama, they're going to be good to go because the ACC and the SEC, they're completely on board. They are going to have a college football season. So you think that we're in for yet another year of Alabama versus Clemson yet again?
Yeah, they seem to be reigning supreme. Ohio State doesn't seem to want to play, so you know, um, who else is there?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Ohio State there because I was going to ask you about that. I know a lot of people have a lot of high hopes in Ohio State, a lot of buzz around that team this year, but Big Ten still, I guess, up in the air at the moment as to what's going on there. But where I'm at in northeastern Pennsylvania, for the most part, we like one of two teams up this way. It's Notre Dame or Penn State. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I'll go ahead and I'll ask you, what do you think of Notre Dame? Do you think that they could be a playoff team yet again this year?
I mean, you know, I guess now because some of the teams aren't playing, but man, I'm never sold on Notre Dame. Even when they do make it to the championship, they get blown out. So, you know, I don't know. I really don't think about them too much.
Yeah, when I asked you about Notre Dame, I saw the smirk. As soon as I said the word Notre Dame, you had the smirk come on your face there. And I figured that when I brought them up, you were going to have to bring up that, national championship game a few years ago, I believe in 2012. But what was the final score of that game? Like 42-10 or something like that?
Man, it was a lot to a little.
Yeah, that was an absolutely embarrassing loss for Notre Dame. But moving on with Penn State there, because I know there's gonna be a lot of Penn State fans that are probably gonna watch this just from me being up this way. What could you say for Penn State and where they're at as a program, and where you see them going forward if they have a season this year?
Man, they seem to struggle with consistency. One week they look really good, next week they don't look as good. And I think to make it to a top and be a premier program, consistency is the one thing that you have to have.
Yeah, it seems like over the last 2 years that the only really consistent programs have been Clemson and Alabama. I know Ohio State's been very good. They've been in the mix of things, won a national championship. Oklahoma's been in the college football playoffs a few times. But, what do you think separates the Clemsons and Alabamas from all these other programs that are on the, cusp of breaking into that elite category and being in the playoffs and being a contender every single year? Well, what do you think is the difference between them and the Clemsons and Alabamas of the world?
I'm not sure about Clemson. I've never been around the program, so I can't speak for them. But I know the thing, being around football and other sports, that Coach Saban did better than everybody was create a competitive atmosphere. Just because you started week one doesn't mean you're starting week two. It's all about how you practice and prepare and then play in the game. So, every play in practice, every play in the game, your job is on the line, and the guy behind you is just as athletic and as good as you are. So what is going to be that separates you from the guy behind you?
All right, we touched on a lot here. We had MMA, we had college football. Eryk, thank you so much for your time. Before I let you get going, though, social media, management, sponsors, anything like that, you want to go ahead and plug it, please feel free to do so at this time.
Yeah, you guys can find me Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Eryk Anders. Man, appreciate Rev Gear, Infinite CBD, and NutraFX. Supplement CBD and training gear. It's hard to make it happen without all that stuff.
All right, Eryk, thank you once again for your time. We appreciate it. And to everyone out there, thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe. Also, MyMMANews. Make sure that you're checking out our website for all the great content. Go to our social media accounts. Give us a like there as well. As always, we appreciate it. We'll see you next time, everybody.